Bradley said, this is a project that I've taken on, spread out across 6 states throughout the Midwest, ranging from Wisconsin, Indiana, Arkansas to Illinois. And we have 2 trials, this one here at Bradford, and we have the same replicated trial at our resistance site near Moberly. And what this focus is to see how different tillage treatments affect season-long weed emergence. There are 8 different treatments, 4 tillage treatments including no-till, conventional till, minimum till, and a deep tillage. And 4 of them, as you can see here, with no herbicide program, and the other 4 with a herbicide program of a Valor, followed by a Liberty and a Dual 2 Magnum post. As you can look here, the beans are a Liberty Link soybean, more soybean. There's nothing really visually to see here besides good-looking bean. And the case for that being is that every 2 weeks we come out here and take 2 meter squared counts of every weed by species in each of these plots, 30 foot wide, 50 foot deep, so you're seeing double stacked 2 rows of plots here. And following those counts, to ensure that there are no weed escapes, we spray them with Liberty. And another aspect of this trial is some greenhouse work, where we're taking soil probes, 6 probes per plot, and from all the different areas of this geography that this project's laid out on, and we're taking them in the greenhouse and we're cutting off the top 1 centimeter of soil, and then the next 4 centimeters, and then 5 centimeter increments within that soil profile, so that way we can count how many weed seeds are in there. Well, how are we going to count weed seeds in the soil? Well, we'll do the weed seed emergence method. So what I've brought out here are a couple of flats showing 2 of the different or 2 of the different tillage treatments that we have. This here is a deep tillage treatment. So looking at this as the top of that soil probe that we took, 1 probe per column. This is the top 1 centimeter, the next 4 centimeters, and then 5 centimeter increments down to 25 centimeters. And as you can see here, between the no-till and the deep till, there's quite a big difference here. Virtually 95% of the seeds that have emerged here on this no-till are in that top 5 centimeters of soil. So the top 5 centimeters of that soil profile in your no-till treatment, tillage treatment, has the bulk of your weed seeds that we've seen emerge. And again, these, I don't know if I said, these were planted on June 30th. So this is about the first 2 weeks of growth we've seen in the greenhouse here. And this is very representative of what we've seen all across the board. We started our Moberly planting in the greenhouse about a week before, and most of the weeds that came up there were our resistant water hemp from that resistance site. I brought Bradford out here because it shows a bit more of your diversity here, but the results, as you can look on page 13, are pretty clear that the deep tillage treatment does make a difference on that season-long weed emergence. So this graph here on 13, it shows the density, the late season density of weeds by number of weeds per plot, and you can see a significant difference between the deep tillage and your other tillage treatment methods. And so moving on to, we'll skip ahead here to graph 15 and show from the Samoy site the one trial that they did last year on the tillage. And you can see here on this green on the far right is the deep tillage, and 18%, what this is showing here is in that top 2 inches, 18% of the weeds that were counted that emerged there in that deep tillage plot were in the top 2 inches versus a 48% in your conventional tillage. And then something that we're still trying to look into is see how these minimum tillage tools are affecting weed seed distribution in the seed bank. And it's somewhat uniform here from the Chamois site, and some of the results we've seen so far, which let me say is very preliminary. We've only had a few counts in the greenhouse, and the counts that we've seen here don't really show that the seed is getting distributed very deeply with the minimum tillage. So that, I think, is a pretty good illustration of how tillage methods can be used as another tool in your toolbox, something that we would definitely not be saying that we're advocating everybody go out there and use a moldboard plow this fall and turn all their ground over. But if you're fighting resistant weeds and you need another option to help you manage that, definitely using a tillage system, going out there once with the moldboard and using that deep tillage is an option that is shown here in the research to provide some results in managing those weed species. Anything to add?
Questions? Comments? Yes, sir.
I don't understand centimeters that well.
Question is about inches. So, I don't know how he's got it separated, to be honest. He'd have to say all that.
This would be the top inch of the soil, these top rows. So if you're looking at this no-till, 95% of the weeds in the top inch, whereas you only have, 2 of the weeds here, so what, roughly 14%, 15% in the top inch of this soil.
I guess I'll just say this about it, you bury a water hemp seed about 6 inches down in the soil or deeper with a moldboard plow, and it's not going to come up from that depth, okay? It has a lifespan, a water hemp or a palmer pigweed, either one. You're talking about a lifespan of 4 to 5 years in the soil at most. Usually it's more like 4, okay? So what I say is if you have a resistant water hemp nightmare, just like what Jamie said, it is one option that you turn that over once. Don't do it again, you'll just bring them back up. Turn it over once, leave them down there. 4 or 5 years later, that population is done. Okay, now if you've let any more go to seed, that's a whole other thing you got to deal with. But get religion about that issue once you turn it over. Don't let any more go back to seed, and that way you deal with your weed seed bank. And that's what this whole issue is going to be about, is your weed seed bank. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes,
real pie in the sky here, and I know it's not directly related to this study, but when you do a tillage event, is there any way to look back at the study and say, hey, I have replaced the herbicide application and reduced selection pressure? Again, that's not part of this study. It's tied in.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's not part of the study, so all we could say is, kind of anecdotally, this would have replaced it. But, just in my observations, yes, I think we have replaced a herbicide application. Very good.